it's also Nurses Month this month, on the 6th, and it's also Teachers Month this month. And so I know we have some teachers and some nurses on board, so we wanted to just say we're thankful that you're here also, and that you're part of APPA. As you know, there are so many different professions and organizations and people that make up our organization. So let's find out who's in the room, and I'm going to ask you to just go around and introduce yourselves. We'll start with Joe down here on the front row and go across.
Okay, I'm Joe Grogan. I'm the newsletter editor here.
And past president.
I'm Shannon Morgan. I do the treasury and the database.
Yeah, I'm Rita Carlson, and I do programs and public relations.
And she's VP, Vice VP. Yes.
Good afternoon, I'm Gloria Mims. Thank you.
I'm David Gordon, member of the board and organization for
Thank you, David.
I'm George Moore, and I'm here to support my wife, Marie Moore.
Thank you. It's so good to see you all here today.
And I'm Marie Moore from Cumming, Georgia.
Okay, well, look at you, a nice little drive, huh? Thank you.
They just made their, became lifetime members.
Oh, that's cultural. Thank you. Fantastic.
John
Yes.
Adams.
John,
Lynn Frisco?
and Linda's handling our Facebook for us now, so we're so grateful for that. Thank you, Linda.
Alan Mitchell. I don't do much anything anymore.
Oh, it's good to see you here today. Thank you.
Wayne Nichols, Beaufort, Georgia.
Yay. Okay, thank you.
Belinda Whitaker.
Hey, good to see you.
Barbara Nair, I'm the secretary.
Yes, Barbara keeps us straight around here. Thank you, Barbara.
My husband Brad.
Hey, Brad.
I'm here for the day with my wife Barb.
Thank you for joining us.
I'm Gwendolyn Carton, also in Beaufort or Sugar Hill.
And we're so glad you're here, the whole Harrison family. Thank you.
James Harris.
James, good to see you today.
Allie Harrison.
Allie, good to see you. Thank you. Sir, why don't you go? We'll bring you up later, but say who you are.
My name is Gary Cecil. I'm going to talk to you about protecting yourself today. I'm a volunteer for AARP.
Thank you. We're glad you're here. Thank you. And Allison?
Allison Stockton, Loganville, Georgia, IT.
And he also sits our programs. The young man who was supposed to be here is stuck in traffic. And so we're going to move on with the program because we have a lot to share with you today. I wanted to start out with a tribute to our mothers. And several people wrote in and provided tributes. And how many of you have your moms deceased? Are your moms deceased? Okay, so about half the group. And those of us that are moms are still with us, we're very, very pleased. And so we want to say, and I'll come back because we wanted to do something special for those moms. And so we'll come back and do that. Also, we want to salute the polio survivors who are veterans. And I'm going to call Rita up, and we want to do a couple of special tributes. I wanted to say also that we have a member who's in the Veterans Hospital in Pennsylvania who is unable to join us and hasn't for some time, but he has paid his dues. And we're just really, really grateful for people who are so supportive of us. So I'm going to ask Rita to come up, and I'm going to say something for everybody while she's coming forward. This is to all the veterans. It's the call to duty poem. A call to duty is sent out, and the strong and the brave reply. They do it for love of country, so there's never a need to ask why. They leave behind all they love, their families, their homes, and their lives. Because to preserve these precious things is the goal for which each soldier strives. So God bless our soldiers, the courageous women and men who fight to make sure the bells of freedom peal again. I'd like to say thank you, veterans, and we really appreciate you. And we have more music to go with that. So we're going to do a special tribute today.
Well, we decided on Wayne Nichols, he's been a faithful member of our group for some time, so we'd like to make a tribute to him. It says, Wayne Nichols' story about his life with polio is inspirational. In 1953, he contracted polio as a 3-year-old. His mother cared for him in addition to his 3 brothers. He eventually was hospitalized for 5 months in a Cook County hospital located in Chicago. While he was there, he received care in a room of 6 other patients and also received tutoring while recovering from polio. As a result of polio, he suffered a tendon problem, and the tendon is a tissue that connects muscle to the bone. It is a tough band of fibers connecting tissue, which is capable of withstanding tension. Eventually, he received a tendon transplant. The tendon from his left side of the leg was placed in the front portion of his leg, and his tendon is a half size of a normal tendon. In 1959, he had his leg strengthened by a steel pin, and in 1962 had a repair of his leg. In 1979, he had a bone spur removed from his foot. He now has a spinal stimulator on his leg, which deadens nerve pains. Consequently, he has no help from pain pills, which is a plus to today's society. At age 15, he bought street shoes with a philosophy of, don't tell me I can't do it. And with a father who was a career Navy man, Wayne enlisted in 1968 in the Navy at the age of 18. He obtained special permission to enlist in the Navy for 2 years and spent his military service in Coronado, California, and was honorably discharged in 1969. During this time, he learned about construction and eventually started his own company. He now owns LOC Scientific, a company that supplies laboratory furniture and equipment. At the present time, his son manages the company with the help of his wife, as he is retired. During his retirement, he enjoys his 4 great-grandchildren, 1 grandson, in his woodworking shop. Matter of fact, he just had a birdhouse that we placed on Facebook, which I was so excited about it. And let's see, he enjoys making puzzles and likes to travel to Europe, Vegas, and Florida. Fellowship with other survivors has been a blessing for myself and my wife. Amazing how upbeat everyone is dealing with polio for 60-plus years of our lives. Although we have had our share of surgeries, braces, wheelchairs, etc., we learned not only to live physically with our affliction, but APPA has reminded me that polio was and is a stepping stone to building a better life for ourselves and our families. He appreciates the love and support from APPA, and Wayne is a lifetime member of APPA. So would you mind standing
Please
up?
stand,
Yeah.
Wayne, until we acknowledge Thank you. And I just wanted you to know that I'd like you to, after the program, take a moment to read Ivy Styles' story he has submitted to us. To hear, he was in the Marines and has been a long-time member of our group also. And so please take the time, and if you have some information that you want to place on the back table there, on either of those tables, please feel free to do so, and you can post them on the poster board back there. But thank you, and thank you, Wayne, for your service. Thank you all for your service. Now, I know that there are some others that have not suffered from polio, the effects of polio, but are in the service also. So, will all the veterans, if you're a veteran, would you please stand and let us know who you are? David is also, David, we have a story. And thank you, Brad. Brad also, Allison. So we have the Air Force, what branch? Army.
Coast Guard.
Coast Guard. And I think all of your symbols in the back on the table to recognize all the branches of the service. So it's really special. I don't know that you've taken the time to say what efforts you put out as a veteran and a soldier, and we so appreciate it. So, any other comments?
Yeah, our speaker is a veteran too.
Okay, and you're a veteran too, in what branch? Air Force. So we have Air Force. Very good. Thank you.
Maybe David would like to say a little bit about he played in a band, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, let me get you, can we get him a, thank you.
Here we go.
Really gonna get you the shit back.
I had basic training. I had basic training in sport training. Basic right down. And then I was in Atlanta for the third Army band for almost 2 years. And I had 8.5 years of military service altogether. And then 6.5 years in the reserves and National Guard. And 2 years in the Army.
Wow,
Played as sergeant in the third Army band.
wow, thank you. We have this musical talent in our group too, we're finding as a result of this discussion. So, thank you. Maybe we'll get everybody together sometime to have a musical performance for us. Thank you, David, for sharing that. My brother was at went to Fort Bennett also, so. With branch of the service, would you Brad? Did you say?
For me,
Mm-hmm.
was in the Coast Guard, 24 years, most of which was reserve duty, in the 12th District, California. And I did a variety of things. I was a storekeeper. I taught CPR for a couple of years, and few other things like that. Worked basically what I got into was management assistant in accounting.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for your service. You know, it's really great to hear play several instruments. And I did not know that about him. And he was very, very honored to know that we were going to recognize the veterans. So that's really good. Rita, do we want to have our speaker come up now? I'm going to come back to the moms wrap and have a chance to do that also. If that's an agreement with everyone, if everyone's okay with that, we'll kind of move into that. Okay? And Nancy and Pat, it's good to see you guys. Thank you. Hi, sir. Okay. Thank you for joining us. Okay. Pat, Rita, why don't you come up and...
Well, we are excited to have our speaker, Cecil Day, and he's from AARP, and he has worked in the governor's office, consumer branch, and he does speaking for AARP, like various kinds of things like caretaking and, you know, help for elderly and veterans and that kind of thing. So we're glad that he's here to join us, and he has a lot of information for us. So let's welcome.
Oh, yes. Okay. You can walk with this one.
I'm a walker. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you folks for giving us the opportunity to come and talk to you. As I said, my name is Gary Cecil, and I'm a volunteer for AARP. Some of the things that we do is these kind of events. And let me start off by saying, I don't sell anything. I have no idea how your insurance works. I have no idea how the phones work and all of this. What we do is volunteer, and it's free. AARP, people get confused sometimes when they see AARP on television selling things and doing things. That's the branding side. That's the side that makes the money. We also have a lobbying group at the State House that for senior issues. You can talk to those folks anytime you like. And we're part of the foundation. The foundation, we supply information. So there's never a cost for anything. In addition to the fact that we do fraud, we do caregiving, we do a lot of managing your life, and it's all free. And if you go to the AARP website, aarp.org, you'll find a whole array of information and things that we do. But today, we're going to talk about people who are trying to get into your pocket, people who are trying to take advantage of you. And as I look back a few years ago, let me tell you a little more about myself then. I retired from AARP, I retired from AT&T, 31 years, 17 days, and it was over. I also worked for the Governor's Office of Consumer Affairs in the Fraud Division. If you have issues pertaining to yourself, there's an excellent place for you to go to resolve some issues. Over at the table, there's a lot of information, things that you can take back and read at your leisure, because some of the things I'll say today might not register right away, but might be something that you need in the future. So as I begin, one of the things I like to tell people about is, I've been doing this for quite a while. Things change, the names change, but the fraud continues on. One of the things that I was just mentioning earlier about fraud and how it works, fraud is perpetrators and greed. Now, you could be greed and have somebody take advantage of you, because that's just the way it works. When you see these things, you walk around and say, free lunch. There's no free lunch. Everything, there's a benefit. There's a reason that they are trying to get you out there. And the one reason they're trying to get you out there is to get in your pocket. For instance, they don't work alone. Anytime you go to one of these free seminars, free lunch and things, there's a group. There's a reason for the group. They normally will have a couple of speakers, one to kind of soften you up and one to lay it on you. So just be aware. And the first tactic is have an out. How to say no. How to say I'm not interested. How to say, nah, that's all right. They know, because they do sheer numbers, that 1/3 will get up and leave. 1/3 will hang around and ask a couple of questions. And the other third, they'll probably hook. There's the sheer numbers. That's how all of these things work. That's why they're so successful. You don't want to get any long, drawn-out conversations with them, because they are good at what they do. They will lull you to sleep. And next thing you know, you probably signed something you didn't want to sign. So those are the kind of things that you just have to be careful about. So in the beginning, one of the things I talked about years ago was the Ponzi scheme. If you look at the Ponzi scheme, It's sheer numbers, because you're going to run out of people. And if you had a minute to think about it, you'd say, wait a minute, I'm going to give you $25 to join your organization so you can give 5 other people the same opportunity to join the organization. Well, what are you selling? What are you fixing? You're not fixing anything. You're not selling anything. So now you got, I'm at the head. Okay, 25, 25, 25. And that money floats up. It's a Ponzi scheme. You're not producing any goods or services. What are you doing? Collecting money. And the person on top usually goes to jail first. And that's a good place for them. But just remember, Ponzi scheme is nothing but numbers, and the more they get the information out, the more likely are to hook somebody. And they will. They are very good at what they do. And as I say, if you're not producing goods or services, what are you doing other than giving away some money? I mean, you're not going to give me $25 and say, oh, I'd like to join your group. And I say, okay, that gives you the opportunity to go out and get 5 more people to join the group. But what are you getting out of it? You're going to be light in the wallet for $25 because we're not doing anything. Some schemes and things that's been going on for a while, it's called Viatica. That's when you go out and purchase a life insurance policy on somebody that supposedly they're in their winding days. It's a sad way to do it, but that's the way they operate. They'll come to you and say, well, we got this policy on this person and it don't look good. But you can get it for $5,000, a $100,000 policy. Well, he's going to sell his policy 10 or 12 times, okay? The one fundamental about it is you don't know who that policy is on. Maybe it's on a 21-year-old that you're going to be paying for a long, long time. So it's not worth your time a day if anybody comes up with that and say, well, you should buy this policy, just buy this policy, and they're going to pass away in a couple of months or something. But you don't know that. So when they're talking about that, don't even entertain. As I say, have an out. Have a way to say no. Have a way to say, I'm not interested. Get up and walk away. Because if you have a long conversation with them, they're going to get something out of you. I did a presentation at a church, and here's the way it works. As I did a presentation at the church, I said, I'm going to tell you a lie. At the end of the presentation, I want you to tell me what the lie was. So I did a presentation. There's a couple hundred people in the room. So I was about to leave, and they said, whoa, what about? I said, well, what did I tell you? And she said, well, was it this? I said, no. And what I told them was, I had met their pastor at the airport and had a conversation with him. And I said, in his vision, I said, how many of you folks in here know the vision of your pastor? Well, hands went up all over the place, and all I have to do is look and see whose hands went up to know who I can approach about this. Hey, I talked to your pastor, and, we're doing this, we're doing that. That's the first key. It might be a grandkid, it might be a son, it might be a car, could be farming, could be anything. But the first thing I want to do is get a reaction from you. They want to know, how can I get to this person to carry this conversation on? That's the opening volley. And from then it goes on and on and on. Then we have one called affinity. It's as sad as the other ones, because affinity is the one where someone closest to, usually in lots of cases, a family member. However families go, there's good, there's bad, and there's ugly. And you could have one of those folks in there that have, only thing they want to do is just get to you and take your money. I often laugh and joke about having family reunions. I say, well, yeah, you get the family reunion, get everybody together, and there's one person, usually there's one person in there, everybody's looking, trying to figure out, well, what does old Joe do? We're not sure what Joe does, but every time he comes to the family reunion, what does he want to do? He wants to say, hey, I forgot this thing, this money-making scheme. Well, if you have a money-making scheme, why is it you're trying to pawn it off on somebody? Doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way. Family members are just as bad as other folks that you don't know. In a case study with a couple of operations over there at the Governor's Office Consumer Protection, there was a church in Atlanta, and they were bilking their parishioners out of the money, just having them sign things. Taking money. So, fraud and people who perpetrate it, all sizes, colors, every profession you can think of, there's something going on. Always something going on. So, and I always say, have a way to say no. My mother, years ago, we moved her into an apartment from the house, moved her into an apartment. She's on the phone one day. I was up visiting her and talking, and I know she's on the phone a long time. And I thought, well, it's too early for her to talk to her girlfriends because they don't need to talk. They don't need to connect the telephone up until after midnight. And then they're from midnight, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning talking. And I'm like, well, this is too early for her to be on the phone that long. So I said, what's going on? She said, oh, there's a guy on here going to sell me some windows. I said, windows? Yeah. I said, well, you live in an apartment. Yeah, I know, I told you. I said, well, just hang up. Oh, you just can't hang up. I said, hold on a minute. Give me the phone. Let me talk to him. So I said, She said, ah. I said, that's the way you get rid of it. You don't have these conversations with these people. They are good. They are excellent at what they do. And so I always caution people, well, it's never happened to me before, but it could. Fraud and the amount of money, it's not about how much. It's just the fact that they will do it. It could be a very small, insignificant amount of money, but then you multiply that times the number of people that they've approached on this issue. And believe you me, they're making a ton of money. I'm walking down the street in New York City, young. I was doing some work, traveling. I was in my 20s. Now, nobody can take advantage of me. I'm too smart for that. No, nobody can get me on anything. So I'm walking down the street, and sure, I look over. There's a guy with a dancing balloon. He walk over, he tap it, and it would just dance in that one spot. I thought, oh, that's neat. I'll get one of those. I'll take it back to the office with me. I'll show everybody, hey, look at this. So I buy two. They're like a couple of dollars. So why I say it's not a money issue, it's a fraud issue. So I think a couple of dollars. Give me two of those. Took two. I'm sitting in my cubicle, and I looked back, and I thought, oh, I got those little dancing balloons. Let me go out and get them. I go out and get my balloon. I bring it back. It has directions. A balloon with directions. And I thought, oh, this is neat. So I blow the balloon up. I connect the little feet to it. I put it up. It falls over. And I thought, so let me try it again. I set it back up. It fell over. So I said, I just have a bad one. I just have a bad balloon. So I'll use the other one. I try the other one. I blow it up, and it fell over. Then it was like, whatever. I'm in New York City walking down the street, and what do I see? Dancing balloons. I stood there probably 15 minutes because it's going to happen that way. I stood there. I'm watching. It's just dancing. So I said, I don't understand why mine didn't work. But anyway, so I decided I'm leaving. So as I'm leaving, there's a guy leaning up against the building. The guy with the dancing balloon, it's this angle, the guy with the dancing balloon, he would hit it. And I happened to pass the guy, and the guy was over there, a little string, just pulling that little string, and everything was just dancing away. And I'm like, so it's not about the amount of money. It's the fact that it will happen. When these folks coming for your money, they have any tactic they use. Some folks are intimidated by it because they scream and cuss and do all this and do all of that. Some people can handle it. Other people can't handle it. Other people might falter. But you have to have just a sheer knowledge of not knowing this is not real. You can always hang your phone up. You can always report them to the Office of Consumer Protection, whether you know it or not. If you capture that information, you actually can file papers against them, and they will pay you. You have to capture the information. How do you get them to quit calling you? They got a no-call thing, but that no-call thing back in the I think 2000, when we started doing it, it's not really that good. But now they can get your cell phone. It's not good at all. But what you can do, if somebody calls you, you can tell them, hold on a second, I want to record this. See what kind of response you'll get. Just tell them. Tell them that you're going to, because there's some states that you can't just arbitrarily record people. Some of them you have to let them know. But you just tell them, hey, I've noticed how sophisticated they get. Now, these originally were back in the old days when we had cell phones and everything was at a very slow pace. Now everything's at a faster pace. So you go to the bank, now you draw some money out, it comes out of your account right now. Back years ago, I get paid Saturday, it's Thursday, it's Friday, I don't have enough money in the bank, I can write a check because the money will be there by the time they process the cash, which is going to take 3 days. Now, slide it in, slide it out, it's gone. That's why when people steal your accounts, they run right to Walmart, they run to Lowe's, they run to Best Buy, they'll run to Home Depot. And the reason they run so fast is because the amount of money they can get off their card. Because they know it's going to be shut out relatively fast. So if you ever lose it, get there right away. Stop it right away. That way they won't be able to do much with it. Some of the other things, as I talk to folks, why do they come after seniors? They come after seniors for a couple of reasons. One of them, they have a pretty good idea what you have. They can guesstimate just about what seniors are doing and how well they're doing. And the other one is, when they take advantage of a senior, they don't want to tell anybody. I'm going to tell you right now, scream. Tell somebody. If somebody's taking advantage of you, tell somebody. Don't keep it a secret, because it can't get fixed if you're keeping it a secret from somebody. So I always say, somebody take advantage of you, right away. Go out and let somebody know what happened. We have all these outlays where you can go to report anything that's going on. But that's a couple of reasons why they do it that way. They somebody took some of my money. Well, no, you need to tell somebody took some of your money. You need to let everybody know that somebody's taking advantage of it. So as we go through these events and things, we get to a point where who do you trust? You know, things like if people are guaranteeing you've never lost, you'll never lose, you'll never, that's a key. There's no guarantees. If somebody's selling you something, it's not a car or something, without it, if it's dealing with money, there's no guarantees. You see, the stock market that's the same way your money will go. It's up and down, in and out. So always, when they start talking about never and this, that just doesn't work that way. We're always going to have some flaws somewhere along the line. But we just need to just be aware of it. Just be aware of things around you. For instance, if I was going to sell you a brand new car, a 2018, I wouldn't let you sit in it 2006 to say, well, this is just alike, because I want you to sit in that 2018 car, get that smell, that fresh car smell, they'll ease you right into it. Ooh, I need this. That's how they trap you. They get you heightened awareness of what's around you. You sit in that car and it looks good, it feels good, and everything's going great, and then you sign on the dotted line and you get home and you sit there and say, what did I just do? We're not reading all that information on that sales slip. We're not reading all that information if we're financing an automobile. It's too small, and it's like something I don't understand it. But we'll sign it. I mean, I'm guilty of that. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I borrowed this, I'm gonna pay you back. But you don't know some of the small things that might be in there. So those are the kind of things you just need to protect yourself against. People who do this for a living are good at what they do. They will lie, cheat, steal. It doesn't matter to them. All they want to do is get in your pocket. The information I have over there on those brochures is a lot of information on things that you can do to help protect yourself. One of the things you need to do twice a year at least is verify your annual report. Your annual report is free. Free, no credit card involved. It is free. If you sign up and you sign on to one and it asks for a credit card, you're in the wrong location. It is absolutely free. So when they talk about things being free, free is absolute. I didn't ask you to take a credit card, any of that kind of information. I was looking at television the other day, and here comes another scam. A FedEx truck pulls up in front of a lady's house, gets out. She walks up to the door. He says, I have a check for you, ma'am. For me? Yeah. Got your name, your address, everything on there. Everything is on there, just like it's yours. All you have to do is sign for it, give me the $300, you get the check. You get the check, and here's the deal. The check was $500,000. Who? You won this. You know where you got it from? You got it from YouTube. It was something from YouTube. So they sent a check to you with your name, address, and everything on it. All you had to do is give them the $300 and say goodbye to the $300 and rip that $500,000 check up because it's not worth the paper's written on. So there's always, they'll never stop. They will never stop trying to figure out a way to separate you from your money. Always trying to separate you from your innocent things. Things that seem innocent are not as innocent as you might think it would be. You know, it's like I'm sitting there one day, my phone rings, and I look at the phone and I'm like, who is this? I look at it, I'm like, I don't answer, unless you're on my call list or unless I can identify you. I don't answer the phone. Just go to voicemail. Well, this one is kind of unique because it said, this is whoever, and your grandson he was in Paris, and he was in trouble, and he needed $350 to get out of whatever it was he was in. And I said, and I told another group this, and I said, it looks like my grandson's going to be in jail for a while. Because if I don't have a relationship with him, why would all of a sudden they call me and tell me, well, your grandson's in jail over here? No. You have a relationship with all your family members, and anybody who's going to get money from you, you have a relationship with them. There's no need for somebody to call you out of the blue that you haven't talked. Besides, my grandson is like 12 or 13. And it's like, oh, that's neat. The reason I mention these things about these telephone calls, because if you get a jailhouse call, it's $12.99 by just pressing hello. $12.90. Those are the cheap ones. It could go on up to $25. That's why I say you look at a number, you don't recognize it. Don't bother. The IRS is the other scam. New, relatively new. Because we never had this problem before. Phone rings and the guy's like, this is somebody from, oh. Yeah, we have agents in the area. Great. I thought it was just great you have agents in the area. You're protecting me. Good. It's about your penalty or whatever it was. All right, they'll be there in a couple hours. I'm like, so I tell the wife, come on down. I don't know anything. I'm waiting to see who's going to show up at my doorstep. So you get those calls. Just have a call list. Identify some things that's going on. Identify the fact that my phone will ring now. If my phone rings now, I give it about 3 minutes and I'll get a fraud alert. It said, if my wife calls me and I hang up, in about 2 or 3 minutes, my phone will ring and it will be somebody with the same area code and the first 3 digits of my telephone number will call. It's new. And where are they? They were in California. They're here. They're there. They're all over the place. So just remember, somebody will call you. You look at it. Well, this is not this. I don't know anybody any money, so it can't be that. If it's important, they'll leave you a message. If it's not important, you don't want it anyway. So just throw it off your call list. You can block it. If you want to know how simplified things have gotten, how people can get your information, if you go to Credit Karma, KARMA.com, and in 10 or 15 seconds, after they ask you 1 or 2 questions, your whole life will flash up right in front of you. Everybody that you've ever owned in your life is there. So just by using the last 4 digits of your Social Security number, they talk about protecting passwords and all of these things. Well, yeah, you don't want to make it really easy for them. 1, 2, 3, 4, your last name, or 0000 or something like that. But if they can hack government computers, where are we? I mean, they have sophisticated everything. But they say, well, you need to protect it. Well, I do know there's a few things you can do to protect your credit cards. You can actually have, anytime you make a transaction on your credit card, you can have your credit card company call you, text you immediately. So if I'm here, I swipe my card, in 5 seconds, it'll come back and say, Is this you? Then you have the option of saying, a lot of folks weren't aware how easy that was. But that's the way, if you use your credit card a lot, that's something that you might want to consider, is having that feedback come back to you immediately. That way no one would be able to use it. We were on our way to South Carolina, my phone beat. It was my bank. Wanted to know about 2 charges, just 2. I'm like, oh, yeah, well, what's going on? Yeah, well, we have this, and I didn't hear the first part of the conversation, but she said, pocketbook, Michael Kors, and a pocketbook, and $650. So I'm driving down, and I'm like, oh, it was a purse? So I said to the wife, I said, did you just, $650? Nope. And it was in California. The last place that you use your card is the first place you want to issue a complaint to. Normally, that's where it is. The last place I used the card was at the CVS drugstore. And it was in California hours later. So whatever's going on, it's going on relatively fast. You know, it's not like you go to service stations and they got scanners and things. No, this was in the store. So however it's working, and they're very good at it. They're very fast at it. So you have to maintain where you are at all points. Complain, tell them something's going on here. Because if it happens to you, chances are that it's happened to somebody else. So you just make sure that they know that you're aware of those kind of situations. If you're into stocks and bonds and things of that nature, you have to go to the SEC for that. But if you, for instance, are interested in certain kinds of bonds, or people are trying to sell you certain kind of information, make sure you understand everything that's going on with that. I find it very difficult for me to sit down and have a conversation with somebody when they're telling me 0.1%, and I'm trying to calculate in my mind, 0.1%, is that good or bad? Well, it depends on how many times they're going to do it. So if it's every transaction, it could get quite risky. So when you're doing those kind of things, go to the SEC. As a matter of fact, if you didn't call them, then you need to have them checked out in the SEC, because there's a lot of schemes and a lot of things going on. Like I say, that one guy got rich off of his Ponzi scheme. Well, he don't have to get out of jail, but he doesn't need to get out of jail. You know, because unfortunately for the people who were investing that amount of money, it was business people. It was people who should know better than to just word of mouth. It's like, hey, come here. Look, have I got a deal for you? Yeah, he got a deal for you, all right. So he's stealing multi-million-dollar worth of money from people. Fraud has gotten so big that every 2 seconds somebody is being defrauded. It never stops. It's big, it's little, it's everywhere. Billions and billions of dollars are being taken without, in a lot of cases, sometimes it's people being careless. And the other thing about being careless, the other part about it, I said, perpetrators and people who are greedy. Greed will get you in trouble. Get rich overnight situations just don't happen. I remember years ago when at a television, one channel, black and white. There was something on television called The Millionaire. He would show up and give a family $1 million. That is great. That was a show. And that was great. It was years ago. And that's the way I feel about it now. If you're going to give me something, and it's absolute, then just give it to me. I don't need to write you a check out for $1,500 and, oh, well, you're going to get this, you're going to get that. No. Just take it out of my winnings. How's that? You know? But those are the kind of things that you have to just, as I say, you just need to be aware of. Now, as far as where to go for help, we have an whole array of things. And one of the biggest things is at the governor's, at the State House. They're big. You know, one of the biggest things in Georgia is mail fraud, investment fraud. It's big in the state. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So if you practice quizzing folks on how did they get here from there, that's one thing. But just don't lay your money out and think that these people are going to be straight up with you, because they're not. They're going to be, once they get you, they get you. The way it works is they work out of a boiler room. And a boiler room is nothing but a bank of telephone somewhere, and they all get together at this one time, and that's when they flash all those calls out. It's a boiler room. It's numbers, as I say, it's always numbers. The more numbers they pump out, the chances are maybe 1 out of every 10 or 15 or 20 they get a hook. And once they get a hook, here's the deal. They will sell that information to another person. We've got a live one. We've got a person here who give us money, you need to try them now. So your name will never get off that list. Once you have started, it just continues. They continue. When you look at a boiler room operation, they just have banks and banks of phones. When we did ours, trying to find out, a few years ago, there was one going around where if you wanted to correct your credit, you could correct it for $49.95. They made a ton of money on that. And our thing was we had to call these numbers, all these folks, to find out, did you participate? We knew who had called. We knew that these folks had called. So what we did was we set up a boiler room operation down at the State House and started calling people back. Well, what I found out, or what we found out, basically was people didn't want to cooperate because they had been taken advantage of. And that's why I say, if somebody takes advantage of you, scream to somebody. Don't hold back. Let people know that, you know, I lost $49.90. Well, that's all right. It's only $49.95. No, but it was your $49.95 that you get no return on. Years ago, when we started using Social Security numbers as being something we could use to identify, what was interesting about that was, don't carry your Social Security number. It's up here. But then what did they do? Medicare came out. And what did they do? Flash your number right across the top of it. Well, now we're about to fix that, or it's in the process of being fixed, where you will no longer have your Social Security number flashed across your Medicare card. They're going to finally fix it. But look how long that's been going on. That's why I say your Social Security number opens up your whole world. Once they have your Social Security number, that's it. They can figure the rest of it out. So you just need to kind of protect those kind of things, and eventually it will work its way through. And the reason they got to change this, the Social Security thing, was a few years ago there was a guy called Catch Me If You Can. He was a shyster, but he was good at what he did. I mean, he was so good. He was flying, he was with an airlines. But what he did was, he kind of figured out, watching them, that all he needed to do to get on these flights was to go to this particular store, get him a uniform. They give him a uniform, and he'd say, "I'm going to put me in the jump seat." He never flew a plane, but he put me in the jump seat. He said, "The uniform, he must be one of us." Millions, this guy did. I mean, he was excellent. Of course, nowadays you wouldn't be able to do it that way. But he was pointing out that the fact was, I knew where to get the uniforms from. I knew how to get to the airport. I knew what to say at jump seat. I knew that they asked me certain questions. I knew the answers. He said, "Never flew a plane in my life. The closest I ever came was that jump seat." Well, he did a great job. As a matter of fact, he did such a great job, the FBI had him come work for him. That's how good he was at that job. And that's what I say about these people who are talking to you. These people who do this for a living, this is their niche in life. It's just constantly, once they find that weak link, they will get you. So, as I say in closing, I'll just say that you have to kind of protect your personal information. When it comes to buying and selling, when it comes to buying, if you didn't contact the person, check them out. Go to the Better Business Bureau. Go to the SEC if you're doing security kind of things. Go to the Federal Trade Commission if you have any issues with communications. A few years ago, we had the issue with fax machines. Just get fax machines would just go crazy. Well, that was the job of the SEC. Well, now we don't have that issue because, like, fax machine. No, I don't want you to send anything to a fax machine. I can use my phone for that. So there's those kind of things that you need to be aware of. That don't let these folks con you, talk you out of all the money that you've saved, all the years you've worked, that they don't care. And I guess that's the sad part about the whole issue, is the people who are doing this, they don't care. They could care less about you, whether you have any food or not, or whether you do this or do that. And, it's all right. They got the money, and yeah, right. So, and the last thing I will tell you on, the annualcreditreport.com, that's the website. So you can go on that. There's nothing, and I say you can get it done twice a year. And you need to do it twice a year. I usually try to do it in January and in July. There's no secret formula to it. Just log on, and it'll follow you through the transaction. There are other things that you can do. You can opt out. There's a website called Opt Out, and these are all going to be in that book over there. That you can opt out of some of that paperwork that you get, because mine is usually my pet. I have a PO box and a home address, and I don't know why they think it's necessary for them to send both of them to me. I get it same name, but they will send that stuff to me all day, and obviously they don't mind. But if you just kind of take just look over what people are trying to do to you, think about it, take a deep breath. You don't have to sign it today. There's no reason for you to sign anything right now. You got time, take the time and think about it, and then go on from there. So if anybody has any questions about anything I said or about where you can get additional information from, please, yes.
almost guarantee you that the hackers have your social security number. So everybody needs to freeze their credit at the three major things, which is free now.
Right.
Everybody now, and then if you go apply for something, they'll give you a secret number. You'll have to use that number to unfreeze your credit for a period of time. But everyone should have that credit before frozen.
Yeah. One other thing about the way some of these work, when they get such a large number and you don't get a hit, the reason why is they're anticipating, they expected that you're going to be watching, right? So now in 3 years, they will unload them. Normally it won't happen for these major ones. It doesn't happen right away. It's like, well, they hacked, what are they doing? Well, give them 2 or 3 years when things have kind of cooled down, and then it'll start. Then you'll start seeing some trends happen up. But yeah, you're right. Freeze it, look at it. Talk to your credit card companies. Talk to all those folks who you're doing business with. Make sure that they protect you. One thing about credit cards, if, for instance, I used a credit card for business once, for the wife, and we put a large number on it. If you pay your bills, your numbers, your rate should not increase. So I had paid bills on this credit card and credit, and one day I looked at the bill, and the payment was twice as much as I normally would pay, and I was always paying. Don't pay minimum; you got to pay more. So I called them, and they said to me, "Now, this is some more fraudsters, credit card companies." They said to me, "Well, we notified you if you didn't respond to this letter, this email, we were going to increase your interest rate." Well, I said, "Well, but I've never missed a payment, and I've never been late, so why is it increased?" Well, we had a conversation. He said, "Your interest rate now is 29.99%. And I said, "Great. Just try to collect it. Here's what you're going to do. You send an email." I'm on the phone with him. And anytime you have a problem with your credit card company, or any of these folks, go right to them. So I told the guy, "Fine. Send an email to your company and to me right now." I said, "I'm online. And let them know that I am not going to pay that amount. I am not going to pay that amount." So he said, "Well, you're about to mess up your credit." Now, I have a house, I have a car. I'm not going in debt anymore for, anything like that. So I said, "Fine." So I said, "You just do what I ask you to do and we'll be fine." Well, to make this long story short, it worked this way. I can give you, and he just told me he couldn't. I can make it 18 something. And I said, "That's all right, skip it. Just go back to the 29.9. Well, when the conversation ended, about an hour later, it was below what the rate was that I originally had. Because I'm like, we'll go to court and let some court figure this out. If you pay your bill, do not be afraid to challenge these folks. Because I consider a lot of these credit card companies fraudsters themselves. If not, look at Wells Fargo and what they did. If they're not, perpetrating fraud on people. So if nobody has any other, yes, ma'am.
Yes. In regards to the mail, receiving mail, there are times when the envelope would have something on it as though it's official, like coming from the federal government or from Medicare, because X number of months ago, or maybe it was into last year around the fall, there were cards being received from some company that had Medicare on it, stating that you called to get some type of brace. And so I kept receiving, and I said, well, I'm going to find out about this and to know whether or not it is legitimate. Not that I was going to participate. And so when I called the number, the fellow then, I began to ask questions in regards to how was that affiliated with Medicare. He said, oh, well, it's just a product that we are offering seniors, and if you get the equipment, then we'll bill Medicare. And I said, well, sir, that sounds like something fraudulent to me. And so I hung up, and then I called Medicare and reported that. And then, again, when it comes to solicitations from charities or whatever, there are some that are very fraudulent in that, not that you've ever donated anything to them, however, in some way that they can get your information and then begin to send. And then there are some who have this saying about when they observe like a reputable giving record of a donor to a legitimate charity or organization, then they look upon that person as, oh, that's a great sucker. And so let's see how we can suck him or her in. Additionally, I'm sure you've seen some of these reportings like on either 60 Minutes or Dateline, whereby they have investigated various charities that have really preyed upon innocent people from the standpoint even like children's is one, and then cancer is another one, whereby they prey on the emotions of a prospective donor, and then to see how lavishly they are living in these expensive homes, yachts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then when they are confronted, then there's very little that they want to say about it. And so we have to also be aware of those because Clark Howard also gives that type of information, whereby toward the end of the year in particular, to say beware, because there are those who really want to see how much they can get to your pocket.
Thank you. Now, that's what I was saying earlier about a mooch list. That's the way they handle it. Once you give to any charity, they will put you on a list and hand you down the line because I had sent some money to Wounded Warriors, and I thought, well, I'll just do this to Wounded Warriors, it'll be all right. Well, I have fund requests from about 15 organizations. I only sent it to one, and the way I do my giving is at the end of the year, and I just do it one time and say, boom, it's over. But once you do it, you get on a list, and guess what? Everybody in the universe will be looking at you saying, oh, well, he gave once. I guess he could give again. But thank you, everybody. Yes, sir.
Two comments. Number one, Georgia is very gracious in allowing us to get our credit reports twice a year.
Right.
Many states don't permit that. Since there are 3 of them, I do it every 2 months.
Right, yeah. Yeah, you can, right. You can do it. That's the way you can do it. That's the other way to do it.
Roll it every 2 months.
Yeah. You ever find anything on there interesting?
Yes, I own Bell South Center.
Look,
that happened.
It's amazing when you do that and you start looking, when you really dig into it. Because the first time I did it, I was like, Florida? I've never lived in Florida. Oh, you lived in Homestead. I did. I mean, I have accounts in Homestead, Florida. I'm like, I don't even think I've passed through Homestead. But you're right. You know, it's just something that you have to really be aware of.
The second thing is, less than a year ago, I purchased something from an Amazon affiliate. This was on a Thursday. Saturday morning, 3 charges here in Atlanta were on my credit card. Now, this is a chip card. This is not supposed to be able to happen. But apparently, there are still places that don't yet use the chip card and still use the swipe.
Right, yeah.
So just be careful, and they especially do it on Fridays, because most people stop looking over the weekend.
Right, yeah.
And that was one of the things I was saying about when these people are stealing these credit cards and things. Home Depot is a favorite because you can get a $5,000 piece of equipment. You know, if the card is good, you run over there, Home Depot or one of those places, and get a nice big piece of equipment real fast and out of there. And the problem I guess I had, thinking back years ago, was you almost had to sign one of your kids over to get something on credit. Now all you got to do is just walk in. If you're upright, they'll take it. But you know, in the old days, it's like, oh no, you can't just walk in here. And they seem to have gotten away from that because they say they're smarter now, I think. But anyway, well, thank you all very much for having me over. And one of the other things I have to mention to you that you might want to consider sometimes when you're having it is we do a caregiving. We have a caregiving group or talk, and what we've found out over time is when it comes to caregiving, there's a lot of things that people are missing. And our focus is on not only the caregiver, but it's a whole family issue, because caregiving becomes a family issue. It's not a one-on-one situation. And as families go, good, bad, or indifferent, there's always some friction. And we try to bring that out to get away from that friction is how do you do that? And the way you do it is you bring everybody in the room and you have a conversation up front and get it over with. Because if you don't, they're going to be looking at each other like, I don't like this, or who do they think they are? All right. And lastly, because I say it that way, my mother is 82, and she had a problem with her leg. Actually, veins had collapsed in one of her legs. So as we sat down, my brothers and sisters, we sat down to decide what was going to be the next step. And why I say bring the whole family is because we all went to the doctor, the hospital together, and we sat in a room, and the doctor gave us a diagnosis on what's going on. And he said, well, here's the problem. Your mother is 80-some years old, and you know, we'd have to amputate her leg. All right? So as he's giving this information out, well, if you don't amputate the leg, what can we do? Well, we can just keep medicating her, and she just die of blood poisoning. Oh, that's it? Yeah. So what would you do, Doc? He said, well, if it was my mother, I wouldn't do it. So he said, I'm going to step out so your family member can get together and hobble. And before he took 2 steps, my mother said, let's just cut it off. I'm like, what? Yeah, just cut it off. It's not doing me any good. So he said, the life expectancy is 11 days. 11 days. My mother died at 98. So they were coming around all the time looking at her, talking to her like, we don't understand, you know. So it's important that when you have a big decision to make, and that's one of the things we point out in caregiving, is you make sure that you have everybody there that needs to be there. You're going to have some dissenters, but that's to be expected on any family. So thank you all very much for having me. I hope you all have a great day, and I enjoyed it. Look forward to maybe coming over and talking to you again sometime.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Table and items that you've left for us. How many of us here have had some kind of an experience or challenge with fraud or deception with your cards or any information? That's only about half the room. I'm really surprised that it wasn't more than that. Because I know even in my work environment, so many people that I worked with at that time had those same challenges and people stealing their accounts. And it's such a hassle to have to go over all of that information and get that information straight again. So we really appreciate this information. Thank you. Okay, I'm being checked out here.
Okay. What I'm
going to do now is that since I have my cheat sheet in front of me, I want to go back over the items on the agenda that we had. But I want to take time to, as we had a dedication for the veterans, I have a Mother's Day prayer that I wanted to share with everyone. For how many moms here? How many moms? Thank you all. We really, really appreciate you. And one thing is, if you're not a mom, you have mom that shared information and things with you. So a mother's prayer for you. I said a Mother's Day prayer for you to thank the Lord above for blessing me with a lifetime of tender-hearted love. I thank God for the caring you've shown me through the years, for the closeness we endured in times of laughter and of tears. And so I thank you from the heart for all you've done for me, and I bless the Lord for giving me the best mother there could be. And so that's for each of us in our own specific situations for you and your moms. And if you're a mom, that's for you too. So please take the time. We have some wonderful stories, pictures, activities in the back, and I'm going to break us a little bit early for the specific reason so that you can go back and see those stories and share that information that's in the back of the room and the tributes there. And if we didn't get something posted, please put those things up for you. So we had our tribute to mothers, and to all those of you who submitted information about your moms or your wife or your friend, whomever, your daughter, thank you for your stories on your mothers. And for our veterans, we salute you again. This is last time's thermometer only because your wonderfully challenged technical person up here couldn't make the adjustment before today and get all the numbers. But I want you to know that number has gone up by 8. And so that's where we are now in terms of trying to reach that 92 goal. We have 69 people who have submitted their memberships, and we say thank you to everyone that has done that and really stepped up to the plate. We will push this. It's really better if we have money coming in at the beginning of the year. It helps us in terms of our planning and everything. So it's really, really helpful to us. You'll have more. Is that better? Okay. Is that better? Okay. And so you will see information come out about Georgia Gives shortly also. So you're going to see that. We had a FODAC run, walk, and roll. And the person who won, thanks to all of us here supporting and her other family and friends that supported her. She doesn't like to say anything, so I'm going to talk for her, but you have to wave and say thank you, thank you, thank you. Vicki Kroll is the winner of this year's FODAC Run, Walk, and Roll. And yes. And she worked really hard to get there, raised $2,400, and that's super. And she won a Kroger gift card as a result of that. So we're all invited to her house for dinner. No, just joking. But that is wonderful, and she wants everyone to know that she appreciates you so much. So we just wanted to share that this week. Last week you saw her, last month you saw a picture of her leading the parade. So kudos to you, Vicki. We're so happy for you there. Okay. There's my music again. Okay. I wanted you to know about Warm Springs. We are scheduling a trip right now. It's planned for September. There'll be more information coming out about that and just the details of what that would look like. But can I just see, for our own purposes here, as we work on this, how many of people are interested in this room to go to Warm Springs? Just how many people in this room are interested? We're looking at transportation and that kind of thing too. So can I have that hand count again, please? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. We've sent something out. You're going to hear from Pat also. She has a flyer and things ready to go out to have an inquiry about this. So we're just asking you to respond as quickly as possible so that we can plan what we need to do and see what your needs are also. Okay? I would like to, at this time, just take a moment and ask you what is going on in your world related to the polio or post-polio syndromes. You know, the last time we talked about cold intolerance, and we got a lot of good information out of that with people. And someone asked about that socks. We talked about smart wool and how those stockings are really good to help keep your legs warm. I wanted to give you a piece of additional information. The other socks that I was talking about was from Bed Bath & Beyond. And they are online. And it's a stocking that comes up to just probably about just above the calf there. And it's fleece lined. And it really keeps your leg warm at night. So you might be interested in looking at it. I just wanted to give you that piece of information too, in case that would be helpful to you.
What is the name of it again?
It's at Bed Bath & Beyond. It's fleece lined stocking, and it has a little tassel on the back. It looks like a knit stocking, almost like a knit sweater, only for your knit sweater for your legs and your feet. That's really, really kind of cool.
Carol, I just wanted people to know, I got a new wheelchair. I don't use the chair very often, but we'll be traveling this summer. And we've got this, I'm trying it out today.
Oh.
It weighs 17 pounds. And it comes apart. It folds up, the wheels pop on, and it can go in a carry bag.
Can I ask you to come up front with that? Because Pat had just sent me some information about this wheelchair. And I thought it's really, really interesting, and maybe we can put it in the newsletter even next time, Joe, in terms of looking at that. While she's on her way up, I just want to say, did everyone receive the newsletter? Did you receive the newsletter yet? I just got mine in the mail yesterday. So thank you. Take a look. That's a good newsletter and gives us a lot of background. Okay, so.
I can't be in front of the speaker though. Back up.
That looks comfortable.
It is actually.
Yes. Sorry. Sorry.
Synergy.
Hi. This wheelchair, like I said, weighs 17 pounds, not for me to carry it, but for my lovely husband to carry. And like I said, it folds up and wheels pop off, and we bought the carrying case with it. So we just got it yesterday. I'm trying it out. But it rolls very smoothly. It's easy for me to propel myself because the chair is only 17 pounds. So maybe you could show them how it's done.
Yeah, what I like about it is these handbrakes up
Oh,
here.
yeah, he doesn't like me going fast downhill.
Also, it has racing too.
It's got the wheel,
It has the
Very light.
regular wheel brake, and then there are hand brakes for whoever's pushing you. And again, we just got this yesterday, so we'll see how fast.
Where did you buy this, Barbara?
It has to go in the bottom. This is a drive.
Can we point the camera towards this? I don't know if people can see it or not. I don't know if that's possible.
We can send out some information on this also.
It's a drive wheelchair. We got it online. Brad called the company. They gave us actually a special deal. Before you fold it up, I'm going to just show the pocket in the back. There's a little covered pocket in the back, which is nice. We also bought a bag to fit on the back. So you put stuff, souvenirs in it, and then just take the bag with you, the bag zippered, and then, okay, now you can put it up. But that's not
So if you're on an airplane, I guess you'd have to check that. You'd have to check it, right? I mean, if you think.
Yeah, I think you can, like, wheel it, yes.
If you use it as a regular wheelchair, you go right there and then they have a place to store it. They take care of it as a wheelchair. But if you have it in the bag, now there's the bag that has a sling, I can carry it. If I carry it, then I think it has to be checked, like luggage.
Okay.
But this is pretty compact. Of course, these come off just like regular footrest. They just pop off.
3 months ago, when we began to plan for a trip this summer, Brad says, I want to find a wheelchair that could fold down and become a backpack. And I thought, oh, good luck, there's nothing out there.
This isn't actually what I was looking for. I mean, I was looking for something like a backpack. This is a big backpack. This is a lot of bulk for what the thing I was thinking about.
But it's the lightest, the company says it's the lightest wheelchair available.
Yeah, it does work. The cover is very good. It's pretty small, and it has a sling, goes right over your shoulder like this, and you can actually carry it like that.
So, it'll be helpful.
That is great. Thank you so much.
How much do they cost?
This is
$500.
no.
But they gave us a discount just
Right.
for calling, because we called. We put it in online and then
Well,
called
and we
about it,
bought
they
a
gave us
couple,
discount.
we bought another pad and the carrying case and the bag that fits on the back.
Right, and these tippers are extra.
So we got a lot of extra, but,
What's the tipper?
Well,
so you don't fall backwards.
Wheelie bars is what they are, if you go too fast.
Yeah, well, they're pointed up right now, but you can point them down, so if you're going like over a curb or something, you don't fall backwards.
you can't fall backwards, right?
I think with all of our accessories and with the discount, we paid $670. And then I was concerned, well, gee, if it's so lightweight, it must be cheap. But it's not. I mean, it's very sturdy.
Well,
And you can see where they've saved on some weight. There's cutouts on the side here, and it's I guess it says magnesium wheelchair with quick release wheels.
It's the difference between our $2,500 heavy quickie, it also has tipped wheels like this, but they're so close together, and I really have to be careful not to hit them when I'm walking. This is very nicely spaced, so it's a good design, but I really like the handbrakes.
He doesn't like me going fast. I like to go fast.
So would Medicare come to this?
Medicare paid for my braces, so they're not going to pay for anything else.
Right.
My braces were a lot more than this chair.
I know, $500, that's really impressive.
I guess a lot of that technology came out of the racing wheelchair world, where they make the chair as light as possible.
I'm sure, yeah.
That's where I'm sure a lot of that came from.
This looks like racing wheels.
Well, I'm thinking if you put a motor on that thing, that would really go fast.
We'll talk later.
Brad's concerned about that now.
Not that there's anything wrong with your current power supply, aren't you?
There's plenty of room for it right here.
Any other questions?
That is great information. Thank you so much for sharing that. Allison,
It needs a
you
couple.
slow down and send it off. Thank you. That is,
I was going to show off my scooter.
come on up.
Try to come up with this.
Yeah. And while you're on your way up, Nancy, and thank you so much, Barbara and Brad. We really appreciate that. And that's comfortable too, huh?
It's very.
That's really great. One of the things is, you got your pillow. Is that the pillow you were talking about?
No, it's a different one. It's not. It's the best site. It's not the same.
It's not the same, but
it's the best of its kind.
give you some relief, yeah. This is, part of what we want to take into consideration when we get ready to go to Warm Springs too, is, all the things that you have to operate. Okay, Nancy, come on, tell us about what you have here.
I had mentioned that maybe we should get a scooter or something, so I could go more places than just Walmart and the grocery store, where I always use their scooters.
Yes.
Anyway, Steve went online and found this one, and it's also by a drive. And I took my grandkids to the zoo just recently, and I think we spent 4 or 5 hours there. Everything we wanted to do, and I never got even the first button of electricity is gone. It's stayed power for I don't know how many miles it would go. I did 2 miles in the park the other day.
Extended range.
And it just keeps a charge, and so it comes apart. The seat comes apart. The 37-pound battery comes apart. The whole thing is 90 pounds, right? And
Something like that. Seat comes off.
the whole thing was 90 pounds. The battery is like 37, so that's the heaviest piece. The seat comes off. In this, we were able to get into our van. We lost one seat. Took out one seat, but then I can take this where I need to go. So I found out I can't really use it too much in the house because it's too narrow, the openings, but I don't need it for that yet. And I haven't used Medicare for equipment yet. So I figured, and this ended up also costing, you got it just on Amazon, right? Around $700.
It was cheaper to buy it from the manufacturer than it was from Amazon. And
Yeah.
It's got a 5-year warranty. It was $700-800. But there's a number on the front of that basket. If you use that number, you get a discount. I don't know if you can zoom in on that with the camera.
If you all will send us this information,
All right.
we can send it out to
Zoom
everyone.
in on it.
Okay.
Nancy also shared with me and Joe about the suitcase that you can ride in the airport, so that you don't have to carry your suitcase. You actually sit on the suitcase and you can ride it. Joe has something about that in the article in the newsletter this time, but here we have it right here. And so thank you for staying on top of these kinds of things and this information that's really, really helpful to the group in terms of as we go through looking and as we become as we have more and more need to have some of these devices. I know I hadn't walked with a cane ever. I walked with crutches when I first had polio, but I never walked with a cane. And so I've had braces though before, naturally. And I rode the scooter. I finally, my ego finally got out of the way so that I could get in that little cart and ride around the supermarket. And so I'm riding in the supermarket, and my sister's grandson says, "Auntie, can I ride with you?" So he jumps on the back of the cart, and he goes, "Grandma, when you get old, are you going to have to ride one of these things too?" Talking about me in the scooter. So I had to laugh. We both burst out laughing. We thought, when we get old, are we old now? And so we're at that place where we need to think about those things and consider those things. But it's amazing. This kind of information is really, really helpful. So thank you for sharing that with us. Any more pieces of information that could be really, really helpful to people? Joe?
I have a question. A few years ago, I was at MedTrade, and I was sitting in a lounge chair that they had. I really liked the lounge chair.
I like this lounge chair because it had a joystick that you could hold in your hand for tilting it backwards and forward and all of that. And most of the chairs are a pain for me because the handle's always over on the right-hand side. And the guy walked up to me and said, "Well, you like that chair?" And I said, "Yeah, how much does it cost?" And he said, "Well, normally it's like $1,600, but the wholesale price is $400. And I thought, $400? And at the time, I kind of thought, if APPA were to buy the chair, because we're a corporation, couldn't we not buy if we bought a few of them in bulk? Say, buy it at the wholesale price, and then sell it back to the members, maybe make $1 or $2 on it. But basically, if I could buy that chair
And $600
at the wholesale price. Well, I mean, could the same thing be done with the drive people, for example? If we agreed to buy, say, 10 chairs, will they give us the wholesale price? And we could buy it as a corporation at the wholesale price and sell it back to the member? Is that worth looking at?
Yeah, I hope the motorbag might even come. They said,
Can we get...
oh, never, it's just real quick.
I just want to be able to hear because we're streaming live, and so we can hear the questions and the comments on that. That's the only reason I have a mic too.
I asked the motorbag company the same thing, that maybe if we came here, if they would give us a demonstration, we could all try it around the building, and and then maybe again we could lower that price because now it's huge, but in a year they'll be ready to up and manufacture a lot. So
with technology, you can be sure that it'll be out of date in a year or two. So the price of things will go down, and we won't. And that chair will be $200. And so those things will happen. They do happen. Is there any other key information to make sure that we've covered everything today? Are there any points that I need to add, that you would like to add, that may have been omitted?
One question.
Yes, sir.
We talked several months ago about having a blog website.
Having a blog?
Blog, so we could interact with each other between meetings.
Yes. Right now, we don't have the capacity. We're trying to get the Facebook up and going so that we can do that. If you or anyone else has the ability to help us put that kind of thing together, we are open to that. Right now, Allison's trying to keep up with our website, and we want to add more and new things to the website, bring it up to date with some of the information and materials. We are going to put your stories on our website and our Facebook. We have connected the website and the Facebook also, so those things are happening now also. So we are doing a little bit, I'd like to go a little bit faster, but we're going as fast as we can, so, given our capacity and what we have here. So any comments, afterthoughts about today's, anything you'd like to see different or more or less of in terms of what we're doing? Are you okay with where things are? Would you like to see something else happen? Thank you, Mom. Please be open to us. We want to have a dialogue with you. We don't want it to be one-way conversation. So we really want to have an opportunity to share. But we have to hear from you too. The only way we hear from you is you have to speak up and get involved. Look at my message from the president in the newsletter. Thank you. I'm having a senior moment. Thank you. Oh my. That's for the folks here. Okay. Very nice. Well, I'm going to, we have a few minutes. It's not quite 3 o'clock yet, but I'd like to have you. Do you have any new members? Any new members? No. Okay. I think so today. As our member advocate, and we have new leadership givers, so we are very, very happy about that. And if nothing else, after you have a chance to look back here, this meeting will be adjourned. Thank you all.